Welcome back to the Investor Professor podcast. This is Dr. Ryan Peckham, and this is episode 121. Well, on today's episode, we're almost done with 2023, which means we need to look at what our goals are going to be for 2024 and beyond. And so I wanted to look way out. Let's talk about the next 10 years. Let's talk about your next 10 years, my next 10 years, and let's look back at what we have done over the past 10 years. So yes, I did find my goal sheet from 10 years ago, and let's see how things have gone. So get your mind right, and let's get to work. Well, here we go. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Episode 121 here. And so let's talk about the market. We're almost to the end of 2023, and the market has had a stellar year. You have the NASDAQ up for the year 43%. I don't know, is that good? It sounds pretty good, 43%. Dow's up 9.43%, and the S&P 500 is up 23.83%. So again, I always caution you, I think about last year, how horrible the year was last year. And so, in the kind of the words of John Wooden, the famous UCLA basketball coach, never too high, never too low, just trying to be right there in the middle, continue to do the things that we know we should do, and have a little faith that the market's going to recover. Now, surprisingly, NASDAQ up 43%. Is that the best year ever? No, it's not even close, actually. When you go back and you look at like 1999 before the tech bubble bursting, that was a year. It depends on if you're looking at the NASDAQ as a whole or the NASDAQ 100, but you would have got a return that year of 85%. Some cases, I think the NASDAQ 100 was up 100%. So pretty dramatic increases those years. But it all goes back to having good companies, good solid companies that we discuss on this show, companies you can invest in for the long term, and companies that you can wait for things to get better to see how those go. So the one thing I wanted to talk about this week that we talk about every year, which is setting your goals for next year, but also thinking a little bit further out. We've done the 1 year goals a couple times, and so I thought about what about 10-year goals? And for those of you that are watching this, I do keep a goal book where I keep all the years of goals that I set for myself. And one of the things that I found and I was thinking about what about the next 10 years? And so I actually found my top 50 goals from the year 2010. And so this is pretty interesting to think about where I was in my life at that time, where I wanted to go, what are the things that I wanted to accomplish. And so I wanted to just take some time today and for you to think about not only what your goals are for 2024, but what are your goals for the next 10 years? And one of the things I have repeatedly said is that we overestimate what we can do in a year, and we underestimate what we can do in 10 years. And so maybe I can illustrate that too. And so, you think about somebody put it this way to me is when they're thinking about their goals, they think about the person they want to be in 10 years or whatever. And what does that person do? What does that person look like? What does that person, how do they act? What are the things that person does? And so wherever your motivation comes from, wherever you're thinking about, whatever you need to find your why on why you're trying to accomplish what you're accomplishing, those are the things that you need to be thinking about. And so we'll go over these. I mean, some of these goals that I set for myself in 2010, maybe they didn't carry forward like I thought they would, but for the most part, I mean, setting 50 goals was not an easy task. But one of the things I did was, and just to give you the breakdown on this, in 2010, I was 29 years old. I had one daughter that was a year old, and I had not started my business yet. I had not started teaching at the university level yet or college level yet. And so I was 29 years old. I had worked a little bit in financial services. I was working for a bank at the time. I did not have a doctorate degree at the time. I was finished with my master's degree. And so I'll read you some of these. So one of the things that I did when I made this top 50 goals, I put on there, I wrote all the goals out. And then next to the goals, I put whether I wanted to accomplish them in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. I have some 7 years, and then I have 10-year goals on here. And so as I went through here and keeping this, I would go and put a check mark next to the ones that I had that I had achieved. And so going through here, it's a little bit different. So I told you I had a 1-year-old daughter. Now I have 2 daughters, and so some of these that, obviously the second daughter wasn't a part of these, but anyway. So one of the first ones I had on here was Start Right Our Equities, which is my investment firm. And so I have Start Right Our Equities, which is the year that I started my own investment firm. And so that was pretty crucial. I had obtained $10 million in assets under management, and I had that as a 3-year goal, which, by the way, took me 3 years to hit. My 10-year goal was to obtain 50 million under management. And I will tell you that I more than doubled that. And so again, this is the, overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in 10. I had collected my first check for managing money professionally. I had visit Europe. I had, have 100,000 in stocks, 250,000 in stocks, 500,000 in stocks. I achieved all of those goals, did better than that. Some of these that are, I had host a radio program on finance, which I find funny. I don't even remember setting that goal. Does a podcast count? I have on here, teach my first college class. At the time, I think that was the first year that I got my first college position, actually teaching a class. And then, of course, on here, I have the things that, most people would have. Work out 4 times a week, run a marathon. I ended up running 7 in the last, actually 13 years now. Just different things. Read 25 books a year, and I cannot stress how important that was to do those kind of things. Become financially independent, make $200,000 a year consistently, or make all these things. I have so that was my 10-year goals. I have all the goal books that I've done every single year. So every year. And obviously, you can go back and listen to some of the previous episodes. But every year I set goals for different areas of my life. I set financial goals, professional goals, physical goals, relationship goals. And then I basically, under each of those categories, I set different goals under those categories, and then I kind of come up with my top 10 list. And so, my top 10 list is the thing that I kind of look for, and that it's kind of what drives me, or kind of where I'm trying to set my compass, so to speak. And for many years, in the beginning, my investment practice, getting to 10 million was it took me 3 years to get there. And then I started, going up. And then for the last year, I've been having goals of getting to 100 million under management, which took me a long time to do. But it's still just having a compass, having, what am I trying to accomplish, and going after that. And who do I have to come to get there? What kind of person do I got to be? What are the disciplines that I have to do to get there? And I think that is where the key is what are the disciplines, the daily habits that I gotta implement to get to my to get to my goals. And so that is what you have to ask yourself is, what are the things that you need to do to kind of put the structure in place for you to think about where you want to be over the next 10 years? What are the ideas that you have? The ideas that you have that you want to accomplish, and then what are the disciplines that you need to put behind there to make that happen? A lot of times, people will talk to me, like one of the main goals people always have is they want to read more, they want to work out more, and those are like, those are goals that you can combine. You can walk around the block while listening to a book. You can, maybe you're listening to this podcast while you're exercising. Like all those things are good stackable habits that you can do together. And so you think about, everybody tells you to read, but I mean, reading is so important. I just cannot, stress it enough. Come up with a list of books that you want to read to become what you want to become. It's not about, doing the same thing that I did. It's about where do you want to be? What career do you want to be better at? And looking for, the books that are going to help make that happen, and gathering the skills and not just being a follower, but being a student. So my point there is that, yes, you can listen to other people's philosophies. You can listen to how people did it. You can read about how somebody did it. You don't have to agree with everything that somebody says. You do not have to agree with all the steps that maybe they tell you to take or the trajectory that they tell you to take, but it's about looking at what other people have done, grabbing the things that speak to you, that really are the things that pull you in, and basically coming up with your own philosophy. So that's more about being a student, continuing to learn, continuing to get better. Believe me, I try to get better, all the time. And yesterday was kind of my D-Day, so to speak. I got all the student reviews yesterday from the classes I just taught, and so I take that stuff, I take the feedback, and I work on it. I mean, I really do try to put the best product out there. Right? I mean, if you go listen to the first couple episodes of the podcast versus today, I don't know, maybe they're better, maybe they're not. But it is a continuous improvement of trying to get a little bit better. So reading the books, thinking about your philosophy, taking the time to just think. I love the week between Christmas and New Year's because it really is my time to think about, what do I want to accomplish the next year? I haven't done a 10-year goal list like I did in 2010, and I will do that. I am going to sit down and think about what do I want to accomplish over the next 10 years, and really put some stretch goals on there that maybe I accomplish them, maybe I don't. But the process, the journey to get there, even if you don't accomplish everything, is worth it. I mean, and I put the one that I made, I put trips that I wanted to take, places I wanted to visit. Some of them I still haven't got there. I've always wanted to go see the pyramids in Egypt. I still haven't done that. So there's always going to be things that are on your list. There's always going to be things that can get you, that can make you better. And you have to believe in something, right? So we always talk about, investing in yourself, physically, mentally, and financially. All of these things that can help get you to where you want to be, help you create the life that you want to create, help you create financial independence if that's one of the things that's important to you, and really to just help you live the life that you want to live. And I've noticed this is in myself, I've noticed that one of the things as you get older is you got to protect yourself from becoming cynical, or all of those these negative emotions that come up. I've noticed this. I mean, if you're like me, sometimes you watch things online, you become cynical of what the person's saying, you discount it, you try to make yourself feel better. I really try to protect against that. I mean, normally in my daily habits, if I'm scrolling online or social media, I start feeling cynical about the posts I see, I just automatically shut the app down and move on to something else. I do not like those negative emotions and feeling those emotions. I think that they can be toxic for your mental health. But the key is I really try to be in the moment and try to recognize when those feelings are coming up, and try to make sure that I prevent those from happening. And I see it too. I see it in clients, I see it in students, I see it in me. And so you really do have to guard yourself from those things. And so building your philosophy, thinking about taking the time to sit down, think about what you've accomplished, versus and writing it down. Like we always think I'm going to remember what my goals were for the year. There is no way I would remember all the goals that I set back in 2010 had I not written them down, filed it. I mean, I even got I know if you're not watching this, I got a folder. Looks like I got fancy with a label maker. I even put goal books with a label maker on here. I got pretty fancy with it to track this stuff, because I can go back and I can look and see what goals I had in 2014, 2015, 2016. And I can see the progression of, me meeting these accomplishments, going back to school to pursue my doctorate degree, all of these little things that, every year seem maybe small, but over a 10-year period, you look back and you go, geez, man, all right, let's be happy we did those things, and let's continue on into the future. But that's why it's so key to write this stuff down, be honest with yourself on where you're at, and be honest with yourself on where you want to go. It's okay to set some goals that you might not accomplish, that you put some stretch goals on there, because I promise you, if you get really close to those goals, you're going to be much happier, and you're also going to be excited about the possibility of maybe hitting that in a year or two after you had set your goal. So, don't be too hard on yourself. It's more about just a little bit going forward a little bit. So, believe in something. You got to believe in something. You might as well believe in yourself, and have a little faith, and just think about, okay, where do I want to be? It's you're the one who's in charge. I think sometimes we forget that we can make our own decisions. So, ask yourself the tough questions. Are you reading the books that you should be reading? Are you disciplined? Or are you just hoping without action? You can't just cross your fingers and hope things are going to happen. You have to take a little bit of action. I probably, for those of you who know me, I'm a little bit more on the other side of that, where sometimes I put action before I've really thought things through. So, some people, they sit there and they think about it and they procrastinate, or they don't procrastinate, but maybe they just don't take any action because they're always trying to make it. I just kind of jump out the window, which creates a whole nother group of challenges. But I'm always worried that I won't do it. If I think about it too long, I won't do it. Starting my company, teaching, whatever it is, I'm just okay, I have to, just start saying yes to things. And so the choices you make are significant, and having a little bit of discipline. Where you are today versus where you want to go 10 years from now. If you make the daily choices, in a 10-year period of time, you can get to where you want to go, but you can also be way off track. You can be way off track on your savings, and maybe you have a goal for investing, and maybe, if you get off track on that over 1 year period, it's, you can be off for a 1 year period of time and be able to recover. But you put a decade in there where you haven't saved money, you haven't started investing, and then all of a sudden it becomes more real, the choice that you made, right? One of the other things I do is on January 1st, I get on a scale, I weigh myself, and I put that weight in my phone, and I want to know, because if you just gain 2 pounds a year, over 10 years, you're 20 pounds overweight, right? So just tracking things and just being aware of where you're at and being honest with yourself is key, because these few daily disciplines over a 10-year period of time make all the difference in the world. If you study for an hour a day on whatever subject you want to learn about, You know, over a 10-year period of time, you're now a world expert on that subject. So, in 3 months, you're just barely getting started, but over 10 years, you make a significant impact on that, right? And you can start to influence others. You can start to be the person you want to be in the industry that you want to be in. Because at the end of the day, 10 years most likely is going to pass. And so you're going to be there, but where are you going to be? Right? So if you think about starting tomorrow, if you're thinking about next year, what are some small habits that you can start that'll really impact you over the next 10 years? And just start thinking about what are those habits? What are the things you wish? And I'm not talking about New Year's resolution stuff or, building it out like it's a diet where, you make it so stringent that you don't give yourself any leeway. I'm talking about real consistent things that you can do to kind of help yourself. So one of the things I've told y'all, I buy 1 share of Coca-Cola every week. I love the activity of investing. So years ago, I started buying 1 share of Coca-Cola a week when it was about, $30 a share, let's say. And I just consistently do that habit. It's a good habit. It's not, but it's something I enjoy, but it's just something small that I knew, okay, I can save $30 a week, right? I can do something. I can do something. And so that is what you have to commit to and think about. So, now I will say this. Most of the people who are listening to this podcast are disciplined people. You would not be listening to this if you weren't disciplined or wanting to become disciplined or watching this, the reel that they create with this. And high achievers, and actually, one of my goals was to interact with and meet other high achievers, which is always a goal of mine. But when for high achievers, the issue isn't be disciplined, have the daily habits, do the things that you need to do. With high achievers, it's you got to be a little patient. Right? You got to be a little patient. High achievers want to fast forward time. They want to be successful. They want to be where they know they're going to be in 10 years and they want it to happen, right away. And so for high achievers, it's great. The disciplines are good and you got to keep it up. You got to keep it up, but you got to give yourself a little patience, a little grace, and let things happen naturally over time, which believe me, I know that struggle. I really, really do. And that's kind of the whole key, and it's the key to investing too, right? So putting money back, letting dividends compound for you. You don't notice much over a 3-month period of time, but over a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year period of time of letting dividends start to compound for you, you really start to notice that. It becomes very noticeable. It's not noticeable in the beginning. And so with those of us who are used to setting goals, used to being, a driver, type A, self-motivated type person, having a little patience and letting things work out, on their own time is not something that the majority of us are good at. So that could be the thing that maybe you need to work on, So all of these things are within reach. But you just have to reach for them. You got to go for it. You got to take the chance. And so my hope is that whatever you want to be better at, whatever your career is, if you want to be more happy, you'll study happiness. If you want to be wealthier, you'll study wealth. If you want to be better at investments, you'll study investments. If you want to be better at physical health, you'll study it. Be a student. Continue to learn, continue to get better. Sit down over the next week and find some time, maybe things after the holidays, or kind of go up and maybe your house is a little quieter than normal. Grab a sheet of paper, sit down, think about where you're at, and think about where you want to be in the next 10 years. And make a list. It doesn't have to be the 50 that I did. Maybe it's 25, whatever it is. Write down the list of the goals, the life that you want 10 years from now. And then after you've made that list, go down it honestly and think about, okay, do I think I could do this in a year? Do I think I could do this in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? and then just put a number next to it, circle it, and then just, pull that list out every once in a while and look at where you want to be, So that could be your 10-year list. And then also you can create your next year's list. Think about the 10 things that you want to accomplish over the next year. Rank them. What are the top 10 things? Make sure you do it for different categories of your life. We don't want you to be lopsided. If you set all your goals for one area of your life, you might compromise something else making that happen, right? So we don't want your relationships to fall apart because you're trying to make your career better, right? Everything has a trade-off. And again, I mean, sometimes, you can go back and listen. I mean, sometimes you got to be zoned in on one thing and you got to make it happen. So, but you just can't live in that all the time. But I think it'll help you. And I hope that when you pull this list out years later, you go, man, I'm thankful for the person that I was years ago for setting these goals. And it's the same thing I think about today. I think about the older version of myself, and I'm hoping that he is proud and happy of the decisions I made. So I think about me at 60 years old or whatever the age is, and I want that person to be happy with the decisions I made. Today, my goals will be different. I think about helping more people than I did when I was when I was younger. Being a mentor to more people. It's one of the reasons we started this. Helping my daughters start to invest, helping all the students that I luckily get to introduce a lot of them to investing. And it's just an amazing, amazing position to be in. And I'm going to get to meet some of my mentors next year. And I'm just, you want to be a good steward of the things that have come your way. So, as always, I am so thankful that you listen. I'm thankful for the feedback that you give us. We're trying to get better every single day and every single year. And so I wish you the best in 2024. I'm going to be right there by your side doing these episodes, and so we can talk about it. But seriously, sit down, think about the next 10 years, and we'll check on each other. So I hope this has been helpful for you, and I hope you have a Merry Christmas, whatever your religious background is. Happy holidays to you and your family, and don't mistake activity for achievement. And I'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.